If you're wondering why I haven't posted in a while, it's because I've just moved to the Netherlands. I've been wanting to move to Europe for a while since it's a better fit for my work compared to Canada. Before 2019, I've actually never been to Europe, so I toured around a bit. After visiting several countries, I felt the Netherlands was the best place for me to go. After coming back from my trip late 2019, I was stuck in Canada because of COVID, but in June of this year I finally made the move. Once I got here, I spent quite a bit of time settling in, seeing the country, exploring, and fixing a lot of bureaucratic work, but I'm happy to say I got myself an apartment now. From there I spent some time painting and moving in, and now I'm ready to transform this space into synthetic state headquarters. I'm still planning things out, but the living room will be transformed into a jam space, a place to test my creations, shoot content, and collaborate with local artists. The garage will be a workshop, and this small space will be used as a factory where I could assemble and package product. I'm super excited to finally have a place, and I'll try to document my development with it as much as possible. So now here's an update on my projects and what's next. Now that I'm settled here, I'll be focusing on two things: more content and releasing Mainframe. For content, I've been really desperate to make bigger, more grand lighting setups and cool videos, but I've been restricted by space. For the past year I had a temporary room in Toronto, and there wasn't much space there. I couldn't do much else but set up a single LED strip and make videos with it. Next, I want to release the beta version of Mainframe and a few more versions after that. I have here the alpha version of Mainframe, which I'm actually pretty happy with from a physical product design standpoint, as it's something I've been kind of working on these last few years. But the main problem is that the chip I used is the same chip in the Arduino Uno, which I really just used because I was familiar with it and I just want to get a prototype going. But the main problem is that it's a little underpowered. I basically messed up as I tested that version of the product on digital pianos like this one, and it did work, but the problem is that the data rate is quite low compared to software. It really was just a big mistake on my part because I tested Mainframe with software like Ableton you see here a bit too late. While it was designed to handle the data rates of a digital piano, software like this can output data a lot quicker with multiple channels, MIDI, CC, and the like. The way it is now, it actually would be okay if you just use it with the digital piano or some other synthesizers, but I want it to be a bit more versatile than that. Which is why I've actually moved on from the alpha version to what I'm calling the pre-beta. So this pre-beta, the way it's different is that it actually uses a brand new microcontroller, which is actually a 32-bit ARM processor running at 72 megahertz. That's a big difference because the Atmega I'm using right here is only 16 megahertz, and that difference is actually quite noticeable. With this new version, it was able to handle a lot more data and would have less missed notes. I was actually able to handle both note on and note off, because with the alpha version, I would really only be able to do note on messages because a lot of the note off messages were missed, and then it would actually just keep the lights on. Not only can it actually handle higher data rates, but also longer LED strips. I was limited earlier to about 60 LEDs, but now with this new one, I was actually able to go up to around 180 LEDs without a problem. This new chip also has native USB built in, so I was able to connect it directly to a computer without going through a USB to MIDI interface like I needed for the alpha version. Everything was actually all good with this version. It worked and there was no problems whatsoever, but this new chip I used became completely unavailable due to the global chip shortage. Seriously, it's been such a pain in the ass because most places it was completely out of stock, and then factory lead time of 53 weeks. It's impossible to build a product on something like this. I was very unwilling to wait a year to actually get something released, so I enlisted a friend to help me with the redesign. After searching quite a bit for different microcontrollers we could use, we eventually settled on this guy. This is the ESP32S2. It's used quite a bit in the Internet of Things industry because of its built-in wireless networking. In this version, it actually is just Wi-Fi, but in previous versions, it has Bluetooth as well. So it's quite suited for Internet of Things. The reason we picked this is because it's actually fairly affordable, pretty fast, running at 240 megahertz, and most importantly, it's actually available. We found out these ARM processors are used a lot in automotive and industrial applications, so they got bought out by a lot of other companies and therefore are not available. Turns out the ESP32S2 is a fairly new chip and isn't really used that much, it seems at least, so we were able to grab some. We then got this prototype board developed. I'm calling it, I guess, the pre-beta, because the goal is to the goal is to still try to release a beta, but we're slowly getting there. So the difference with this one is that it's actually using the new ESP32S2, but in chip form. This one right here is the module format, which is a little bigger and has a built-in Wi-Fi antenna, which we didn't need. So then we're trying out just the bare chip. Same as before, we have a USB input here to go directly to the chip, then added some prototyping holes so we could build off it in the future. The neat thing about the ESP32 is that it has built-in Wi-Fi, which actually might be kind of a cool thing to explore later on with wireless networking between modules. Still a lot more work to do to get the ESP32S2 working, so I'll continue to document progress with that. A big thank you if you've made it this far in the video. There's a couple ways of keeping up to date with what I'm doing. I do have an Instagram account which I've been posting on for the past few years, and there I post up more of my daily activities, what I'm up to, and what I'm working on. I've recently started a super gigantic, ultra popular Discord server. There isn't anything there yet, but eventually I'll be adding some stuff, so if you have any ideas, do let me know. I do also have a website in the works, which will be coming online very soon. And of course, I do have a YouTube channel, so you better subscribe to that as well.